Greetings, Internet! Welcome to episode 224 of the Comic Watchers Show. He's Chad and I'm Matt, and we are here this evening on a very special night, on a very different day than we usually are, with the one and only Matt Kindt and his mother, Margie. We are talking about their new joint collaborative effort, Gilt Frame, on sale August 7th from Dark Horse. Matt and Margie, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Nice to be here.
Thank you.
Welcome back to Matt.
Yeah, and welcome back to you, sir.
Thanks for having me back. I must not have screwed up so bad last time.
Nah, you done fine.
I got to watch my language this time, though.
I was going to say, this is the first time we've ever had a creator's mother on the show with us. So we'll all have to mind our P's and Q's.
Be yourselves. Be yourselves.
Oh, goodness.
Nobody wants that.
Yeah.
He's not wrong.
He's talking
about himself, not me. So this is a pretty cool collaborative deal. Not a lot of creators can say that they've created comics with their mother. Guys, I mean, let's just open with the most obvious question. Tell us a little bit about the backstory here on how mother and son came together in this creative way.
Well, Matt, where do you want to start?
I don't know. We could start with how my upbringing, or we could start with a story idea.
Take it as far back as you want, man.
Yeah, okay.
Well, yeah. If I'm going to have two little boys, I'm going to have fun, and my idea of fun is solving mysteries and puzzles. And so we really started when the boys were both really little. I would put little clues out, maybe little crime scenes, and see if they could solve them. And every once in a while, they would put one out for me. For example, I was cleaning their bathroom one Saturday morning, and I noticed gravel all over the windowsill. And I just dusted it off and kept on going. But then I got to thinking, well, that's odd. How would gravel have gotten on the windowsill? Those are the kinds of things we like to figure out. But I was on my own on this one. And so I wound the window open. I noticed that the second floor window opened out onto the roof of the garage. And there was gravel on the garage. And I thought, okay, somebody's been out on the roof. And so I guess I brought the two boys together. And Matt, you were very young.
Yeah, I was young. Also, there's only two suspects here. It's me and my brother, and the younger brother.
Fair.
That's why I folded right away under the pressure and was like, ratted my brother out. I was like, I was the lookout. But he and my brother got busted. But yeah, this is when we realized there's no getting away with anything in our house.
Right. Mom's a kind of detective.
Yeah. You have the master detective in the house. You're going to be a good kid. That's why we grew up well behaved.
Well, and it just kind of carried over. We have a Wednesday night family dinner, and it just kind of carried over to getting together every Wednesday. And maybe a couple of years ago, we were all watching murder trials on television and real crime, and we were watching Only Murders in the Building. And Matt, I'll let you take it from there.
We my wife and I, Charlene, had been watching Only Murders in the Building, and then we realized that my parents live in a building just like that.
A cooperative.
Yeah. And we came over and we're like, you have to watch this TV show because it's just like the building you live in, and it's got quirky characters.
Same people.
Yeah, same people.
Great actors.
Yeah. And Steve Martin's not here, but
we tried
some colorful characters here, but. And then we started watching it together, and then before the end of the season, my mom was like, she's like, I figured it out. I know who did it. I know I cracked the case on this one. And I was like, well, what? I was like, tell me what it is, so you can prove that you cracked it before the end. You don't tell me afterwards. But my mom had she had a solution for the mystery that was so good. I was like, it's such a genius twist for the story. That I told her right then, I was like, if they don't do this story twist, we have to write a story that has a twist like that in it. So then we're waiting, trying to finish out the season. And the whole time I'm hoping, I was like, please don't do that. This idea. And they didn't. So it's completely different. It went a totally different way. And I was like, well, this is great. Now we can do your great idea. and make a book. So that's really how it happened. I think until that just random sort of conversation, it never occurred to me like, oh, we should do a book together. We should.
Yeah, and I said, Matt, I've already written 3 little mystery stories. About years ago, I took a break from writing nonfiction to writing mystery stories for fun. And I had 3 little stories, and I put them on the shelf and forgot about them until 20 years later over dinner. It came up that we should write one, and I said, well, let's see what we have. And we did start with one of them as the seed for this story, but a totally different story now. You would not recognize it from its original little story. It's took on a whole new life.
Yeah, the great part about that story though was that it was part of it was like a true crime. It was based on a 1904 World's Fair here in St. Louis, and there was the woman in black. You're the expert on the era and everything in the fair, but it was a true crime that happened back then that was unsolved, and so that was part of what your original story incorporated. And so we did that in this book. That's part of it too, and that part's real. Like there's a lot of real things in this book, you know.
Yeah. Well, it starts with the woman in black, a crime that was never solved, and she stole at the World's Fair, and it went on for months and months, and the authorities were never able to capture her, and then about that time, I won a couple of antique gilt carved chairs at an auction here in St. Louis, and they found their way in this story too, and they have a real history, and that they go back to being carved by a master worker who used the models of Marie Antoinette's chairs in Versailles for a model. And then I started thinking, well, how did these chairs get to St. Louis if they were carved in Paris? And so that led to a great story, and it worked itself into our story. And just sort of,
yeah, a lot of real stuff, except for the murder.
Sure. Well, I mean, I was reading the sample pages that you provided, and the interplay between aunt and nephew is really genuine, very, very. How shall we say? Perhaps based a little bit on real life relationships.
well.
Yeah. It wasn't hard to write. I'll say that part. I was like, it was more of a transcript, you know, based on our back and forths. But yeah, I can let you talk about it a little bit too. But
well, we sat at the kitchen table, and we set it up like a partner table with Matt on one side and I was on the other, and I took on the persona of the great aunt, and he took on the persona of the nephew, and we started dialogue. And what would she say if he said this or did this? And we started laughing so hard sometimes that we'd had to stop and say, "Are you getting this down?" We're going to write the script down. But I would say that it was pretty easy to do.
Yeah, it was fun. I mean, that's the reason to collaborate is for you get something that you wouldn't get on your own, you know, and then it's greater than the sum of its parts. And I think that happened.
Well, and Matt, you've really branched out with your partnerships lately. You recently created something with your wife Charlene, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, we're actually working on a couple things. Well, we've been collaborating together since before we were married. So we have a wonderful daughter. So that is also our greatest collaboration. But she's been painting. She painted Department H in Spy Superb, and then she actually painted a secret page in this book. There's a couple little Easter eggs in this. She painted a uncredited page in this one. So if you can find that one, I've been promising to send you a postcard, personalized postcard, if you can pick out which page it is. Yeah, we're working on a novel together. We've been writing that like a little bit at a time.
Really?
That's like what our date night is as we go work on a novel. So it's fun. But
well, Chad, take the wheel, buddy.
So kind of stepping back, Margie, do you have a background with comics? Did you read them growing up, or is Matt your first introduction to the comic book hobby world reading?
I grew up with comic books, and Little Lulu was my favorite, and I was only allowed one comic book a month because they cost a dime, so they weren't cheap. And so it was always little Lulu. And I grew up with her and always read the funny papers, always, looking for something in that genre. We didn't grow up with graphic novels, though. So this is all new to me and my generation, but I've fallen in love with them.
But to your credit, when like 7th, 8th grade, even into high school, there was a little comic book show in Kansas City, and it was, and by little I mean it was in a strip mall, but not the strip mall. It was in the basement in a room under the strip mall, and then they would have a little convention there every year. It was just dealers with their old comics, and then there'd be a few creators. And this is like probably 1986, 1987, something like that. And you would take us there every year.
It was always on Mother's Day.
And it was always on Mother's Day. Can you think of a worse day to have a convention? But to your credit, you would take us there.
I got a carnation at the door. All the mothers got a carnation at the door, and a thank you for bringing their children to it. But I had a great time because there was always a vintage Little Lulu there or something like that, and then I did branch out beyond Little Lulu, and I was interested in what Matt was getting to. And it was really a terrific Mother's Day because it was, I would say, truly a celebration for both of us. I enjoyed watching him. There was a graphic artist there. I've forgotten his name, but you would remember watching him draw.
Yeah, Steve Lytle was there. Sergio Aragones was there. Jim Lee, before he was Jim Lee, was there.
Right.
It was a lot of. It was just such a weird little show, it was before comics were really what they are now, even. Such a different world.
But you were picking up hints from them, like making shadows blue.
Oh yeah. I remember watching Steve Lytle. His setup there was he had original art, but you could get a commission, but the commission was pre-drawn, and he had a pre-drawn Conan on cardstock, or a pre-drawn something. I can't remember what choice was. There were two choices. So you pick one. I think it was like $10, and I picked Conan, of course. And then he sat there and watercolor painted it while you waited. And so I watched him paint this Conan, and it's so funny because I probably was like, I don't know, 10 or 11, and it's like burned into my brain watching him paint, because he put the color down, and then he would put this blue layer over the top for shadows, and I was like, what is he putting blue? Why are you using blue for the shadows? And then when he did it, I was like, oh, it makes total sense. That was my art lesson, watching him do this commission at the show. And it was just, never forgot it. Never forgot him and any of that. It was all, you were such a champion of encouraging us to do that stuff. Also, Tintin. Did you read Tintin too? This is a good question.
Well,
I'm going to ask you.
Yeah, I went back to school for, I guess, my master's or something like that, and the university bookstore carried Tintin.
Yeah. And so I remember reading Tintin in the back of the car when we go on family vacations. And that was because of whatever they had them at that store. That was the only comic book they had there.
Yeah, at the university bookstore. Yeah, but those were the best Mother's Day. Those are the Mother's Days I remember.
Yeah, so what's funny is I think about you every Father's Day, because every Father's Day is Heroes Comic-Con in Charlotte is usually on Father's Day or the Father's Day weekend, and I'm always there working it, without my daughter or anything. I'm like, what the heck? This is what what have I done? What have you done to me?
I apologize.
Chad?
So when you guys were putting the story together, were there any creative conflicts, and how did you solve them?
Well, I would say a couple. Go ahead.
Great question. That's all.
A couple of months, I said, "Oh no, we got along very well," and we did. But then afterward, I thought, "Oh, there was this one time where because and I know you suspend reality when you read something like this, but it just seemed like there were a couple of spots that really needed to be historically correct, since the story is partly based on a historic event. And Matt was drawing a 1904 turn of the century woman, and he had the dress all wrong. And I told him that he had her in an evening gown, and it was a daytime setting. Really, she would have only worn that type of gown in the evening, maybe. And so I said, "You got the dress all wrong, Matt. It needs to be this way." And he liked the way he had done it, though. He enjoyed drawing it. It looked great.
I made her look like a master thief in comic books.
But there was nowhere on that gown that she could have hidden jewels because there wasn't enough gown there.
Yeah.
There. But anyhow, but he defended himself, and I said, well, okay, I defer to him because I feel like he's the star here, and it's a privilege to work with somebody of his caliber. I've started at the top, but I said, okay, you can do it that way, but it's wrong.
Yeah. What a great and horrible note. I remember somewhere in that same conversation though, Charlene was there too, and I think she said, what did she say?
She was so sweet over our Wednesday night dinners. She would nudge Matt and she would say, "Now, Matty, don't push your mother around."
I wasn't irritated at the note. I get irritated at the idea of redoing something or
sure.
Yeah.
You know, I just don't want to redo it.
Yeah.
But no matter what it is, if it's wrong, it needs to be right, you know. And so I get over that. Here's Charlene. I give Charlene all of my art too, just to give me notes, like to redraw. I'll have her look at everything and she'll circle hands that need to be redrawn or something else. But I'm not in the room when she's doing it. I have to be out of the room, and then I have her drop it off for me, and then I'll look at it by myself somewhere else. Because that's how I have to handle whatever notes. Someone call it criticism, but I call it notes.
This is a much cleaner way to put it.
Yeah.
Critique.
There's less judginess going on.
Yeah, no, but I think part of what I like, I don't want to be the smartest person in the room, right? So that's part of it too. Is I want to learn, and I want it to be better, right?
Right.
So that's part of that is just getting better. And I'm not the smartest person in the room. I'm the youngest person in the room, but not the smart. I'm getting there though. I just have you had a head start.
One day at a time.
Yeah.
So Gilt Frame. So we've touched on all this these building blocks of Gilt Frame and the creative side, but what is it about? I mean, what is the mystery, the central mystery? I know we've kind of talked plot a little bit, and we've got character dynamics, but what more can you tell us about Gilt Frame?
Do you want me to go?
I do.
Yeah, I would say there's two characters, an aunt and then her young nephew, about our age, a little bit younger than us maybe, and they go to Paris to find out some things about these antique chairs, and they stumble into the craziest crime scene that we could come up with. So we put everything we had into the crime scene. In issue 1, you'll kind of see it, you know, and we wanted to put it's really like a locked room murder mystery.
Mm-hmm.
And, we've been saying it's a locked room, but it's unhinged. So
a little bit of Agatha Christie energy is what I'm hearing.
A little bit of Agatha Christie, but I think we were also careful. I think I'll speak for us both, but I think we wanted to do something that wasn't just a whodunit, where when you get to the end of the book, you're like, oh, well, it's a clever twist, which it started with a clever twist idea.
Right.
But making the book, we wanted it to be something where you could read it and the twist is fun, but then you kind of want to go back and read it again. Like there's character there, and there's some extra layers that without spoiling it, we can't say anything. There's a reason that you would want to read it again.
Right.
And then just make it a good book. It happens to be a murder mystery, but it also is just a good book with interesting characters.
Okay.
Yeah.
So tell us a little bit about the main characters. Let's start with Sam, not Sammy, but Sam.
It's Sam. Yeah, I would say Sam. The easiest way to describe him would be he's like a worse version of me at 18 years old. Is he 18? He's like he's a young version of me. He's like with some of my worst impulses. But my worst impulses are I always want to walk around with a cane. So this character gets to walk around with a cane. I don't live with.
I thought that was awfully specific.
Yeah, I've always wanted to, and I keep threatening to, there's an age I get where I'm gonna have a sword cane I walk around with and a pipe.
As one does.
But but I'm not there yet. I don't think I'm quite old enough. But I'm getting there. So that's basically Sam. He's along for the ride. He likes. I'll let you talk about your character, but he's along for the ride. He gets sort of drugged to Paris with the idea that there's books. He collects books too, and this is an idea I love, but I don't do it, which is collecting famous books that were owned by famous authors, and the authors have written notes in the side, in the margins, and so I don't know. For example, it'd be like I don't know, H.G. Wells' book owned by Philip K. Dick writing notes in the margin or something. But so that's what he's going there to look for. So he's there's still I don't want to spoil any more about it, but that's his overview. What about Mary?
Oh, yeah. Well, Mary, she's actually the great aunt, and she's a septuagenarian, which means she's in her 70s. And she was childless until her great nephew was just left on her doorstep. And that's when she felt her life really began raising him. She loves to go antiquing because she likes beautiful things, and she likes to be surrounded by art. So she goes to a lot of auctions, and when she buys an old piece, she wants to know its history. She wants to know its story, and she's hoping that will take her somewhere far away from home, maybe to Paris or anywhere in the world, so that she can trace its history and find out more about it and have it an adventure along the way. And Sam is the perfect traveling partner for that. And they just seem to be at either the right place at the wrong time.
Yeah,
or the
wrong place,
at the
right time. Yeah, one or the other.
Or the right place at the right time.
This is
help solve.
They've solved other murders. That's
this is
that's part.
Yeah, this was what potentially number 6.
Yeah. It is. And we have names for a lot of them. If I can draw fast enough, we'll do a bunch of them. But,
I love it. Chad, welcome back.
Yeah, sorry about that. My son called he's staying with my mother-in-law, so he called and wanted to say goodnight. So
that's a priority.
That is absolutely a priority.
Treat your kids right.
That's right. Yeah, and maybe when you get to be in your son,
that's right.
You still have a lot.
They might still hang out with you.
Yeah, enjoy company. Yeah.
So one of my favorite pages from the book that we were given to read to prep for this was like the layout of the whole apartment that the aunt and then her nephew grew up in. How long did it take to did you guys have to work out the different rooms, or was it just draw an apartment that is spacious and lots of rooms, or what was the thought behind that?
Well, we're sitting in one of the rooms right now, so you'll be surprised how much real stuff is just in this book, including that building and then the place they live, and even the floor plan. I took the actual blueprint of the real floor plan and used that as sort of a template to sort of build the rooms and everything. And but I love diagrams of buildings and rooms. And then there's a series of old pulp books that I collect. I can't remember the name of them right now. I'll post it in the comments after you post this video. I'll go look it up and find out. But it's these old books. They're from the 40s. And on the back of every book, it has a little illustration of where the murder happened. Sometimes it's a house, sometimes it's a room, sometimes it's like a little estate. And there's like a cool illustration, 3/4 cutaway view, so you can kind of see the whole murder scene. And I love those books because those drawings are so neat. So I wanted to make sure we had something in there like that. There's a few of them in there in the book.
So when I know the two characters are kind of based off the two of you, is there anything that how much of yourselves did you put into it, and how much of it is kind of fictionalized for this purpose of the story?
Yeah.
Well,
you
I would
wanna
say
go?
I would say with Mary, she has a far better wardrobe than I do. She has adventures I'm only dreaming of, and she travels a lot more than I do. But other than that, I'd say I've only solved one crime, and that's unofficial. That was just my own soothing. So I'd say we have a lot in common, but she lives it for real.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's fair. Yeah. It's funny. I think there's a lot of us in it, but I don't know how much of me. A lot of me is in there. I think the superficial stuff is all me,
Mm.
in some way or another. But I think there's deeper parts to both characters. Then when you get to them, it's echoes of real, but it's like any fiction. It comes from someplace real, but then we make it different.
Mhm.
For entertainment reasons. Also, I think a lot of times when I write, I change things to just sort of disguise real things. It's sort of a tricky, you know what I mean? I don't want it to be. I don't want you to think. I don't want you to know the truth, but I want to have it in there.
Yeah.
The truth's in there, but I don't want you to know exactly
Right.
what it is.
Yeah, I think with Mary,
Yeah, I think it's the
there's
same,
the same.
right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think like if I were in that situation, this is what I wish I would say or do, or
Oh,
this is,
yeah.
you know.
Yeah, you and all of Mary's dialogue, you wrote all of that dialogue, and I didn't. I try not to touch any of it. If anything was different, it's because I just couldn't fit it in the pant. You know what I mean? I was like, can we take 2 words out so this balloon will fit correctly? I didn't do anything without permission, and because I wanted your voice to come through in that character, and I think that's my favorite part is reading that, and then I can hear when I hear you in the character, and then I can see me reacting to it, which is how it happened in real life. Every interchange has happened at some point in real life.
I love that. So, Matt, before we get further in, we've got a comment, and
Yeah.
I have to share it with you because it's pretty funny. It's from
Okay.
Harvey Picar's Ghost.
Okay.
It says, how many people who actually aren't murderers have not murderers under their name? Clear attempt at mind management.
That's what. Can we turn the comments off?
I like our comments.
I'm just kidding. No, that's great. Yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty good. I had to share that with you. Exposed, he
That's
said.
good stuff. I work. What's funny is I worked with Harvey Picar one time. I illustrated a story for him long time ago.
Oh,
Nice.
But yeah, it was cool.
So, Margie, you've spent his entire life, Matt's entire life, collaborating with him as a mother-son. How do you feel collaborating as creators now?
I consider this one of the best years of my life. I never, although I've always felt close to Matthew, I never ever felt that we would ever collaborate on a real project like this, an important project. I never thought I would work with somebody of his caliber. I feel like to have a son who wants to work with you, and I would say produces something that I think we're both pleased with. I think it's just something I never could have anticipated. It's the kind of thing I would never wish for because it would seem beyond what could happen. So it's just one of the best years of my life, and I think I just never expected it.
No, for me, my favorite part was is you seeing the work that goes into it. I didn't realize how much work goes into it because you just do it. I've been doing it forever. So
right.
But then
becomes second
I was
nature.
like, oh, and then you're working with somebody who super appreciates all the work. And I am drawing it. I saw a comment in there. I'm drawing and painting it all, most of it.
Yeah. Well,
yeah,
except for the secret page.
The secret page. Charlene did a secret page, and my mom actually painted all the skin color in issue 1, and then I just in issue 2. Some of we were on a tight deadline, But issue 3, I think you're going to do most of issue 3 as well
Yeah.
to help out.
But in doing the watercoloring, I would tell you that I've read Matt's books. I've looked at his art since he began, but I never looked at it the way I look at it now, because
Sure.
when you watercolor something and you have to get out the very finest brush that you have in order to do little arms and legs, and then when the page is shrunk down, some of that detail will disappear, and yet it's there because he knew it was the right line to put there or the right way to draw it. I just have an appreciation that I never had before, and look at it much more carefully.
No, we literally just talked about this an hour ago, and I was talking about how, because you were talking about that, and then I was agreeing because I've inked other artists before, and then I've painted other artists. I paint things with Brian Hurt will draw all the time, and I'll paint that. We do those collaborations, and what's interesting is I don't look at his drawings, and you don't really see the drawing until you actually have to interact with it and paint on it and put things in it, and then you're touching every line with the color or with the ink. It's a different kind of looking at the art. So I think I highly recommend, I don't know, printing out some black and white art by your favorite artist, and then just get some watercolors and then paint it, and then you see it in such a different way.
Mhm.
And I can't explain exactly what it is, but it's the fact of like touching the lines and interacting with the shapes. You see it in a way you never see it if you're just like looking at it.
Mhm.
That's actually really insightful, and I feel like to a degree it kind of helps explain the on-page style of a lot of writer artists. Like you can typically tell, right, when like I'll pick on Jeff Lemire because he's not here to defend himself against me, but the dude writes and draws, and you can just kind of tell how seamlessly it blends. And I think that is the same for your work in this instance as well. Well, not just this instance, but in general, I mean. So, do you feel that creating both the art and the story kind of changes your perception of how it renders on page?
Yeah, for sure. I was thinking about that today because I feel like I have so much more of a connection with the book when I'm drawing it.
Mhm.
And I was thinking about that because I'm working on some other books where I'm writer only and I'm working with the artist. And I was thinking about how I collaborate with them, and I collaborate in a very generous way. This is the thought I was having in my head on the way over here, as I was thinking about Alan Moore and Watchmen, and I was like, would Watchmen be the same? Would it be, would pick any other artist, right, of the era that was working at the same level as Dave Gibbons? Is Watchmen the same? Like Alan Moore drove that book, and I don't know for sure, right? And I love Dave Gibbons, I love everybody, love the book, but I was like, that book is probably going to be almost the same no matter who drew it, And I was thinking about how I write for other artists. I write in such a different way, because I want there to be like this magical mix where we're working together and something new comes out that's unexpected. And I think there's something fun about that. But then I also think, I was like, oh, but I'm like the Alan Moore and Dave Gibbons when I'm doing it myself, because I'm making myself do exactly what it needs to be, and it's just different. And I think if somebody's writing and drawing it, nothing beats it, because that's the purest form of what that story is. If one person's doing it, in this case, two people, we wrote it together, so that counts.
Chad?
This is kind of a question for each of you. I don't know if how answering, who wants to answer first, but Margie, how have you seen Matt's work grow over the years? And Matt, how have you felt that your work has grown over the years, up to this point?
Well, I'll give a brief answer. We were talking earlier this evening as we were going over some of the pages, and Matt was saying, I'm getting better. And it seemed kind of funny because I I look at it and I'm just amazed by the art. But I think that's the right way to be, is always looking to be better and improve and change and develop it. So I would just say that I probably need to let you speak to that.
Yeah, no, I like what you're saying. I like that I'm getting better. No, I hope that's what you. It's a problem if you look at a book and it doesn't feel like it was better than the one before, because then what are we doing? What am I doing? Am I not working hard enough? You should be learning from every book, and I'll look at any past thing I've done, and then you see parts that I want to fix now or that could be better. But as long as you're seeing that, I think that you are getting better, no matter what you do. Writing too, it's like you get better by the doing of it. And so you can't really help but get better unless you're just like phoning it in, But comics is too hard to phone in. I don't know how you could do that.
Well, an example is, you worked on the cutout of the apartment house, and then you went back in and made some changes. You looked at it with fresh eyes, I think, after a few weeks, and went back in and improved it.
Yeah, no, that's the thing with big projects too. Is part of it is if you look ahead too much, you see how big of it, how much work it's going to be. So it's kind of overwhelming. So you kind of just put one foot in front of the other, try to push the rock up the hill, and then when you get to the top, you're like, oh, we're done, right? But even now, we're doing every issue before it goes to press. We go over it again, and then we go over it again, and go over it again. And you've said this before too. You like revised.
I love just picking and picking and picking.
Yeah,
that's something.
And I think, oh, I don't like that, but then I was like, oh, I do, but we do that, and I do that like every stage, like while I'm penciling, I'm fixing the story. While I'm inking, I'm fixing the drawing. While I'm coloring, I realize that needs to be redrawn. And then when we look at the PDF with the lettering, then we rewrite it again a little bit, and you're constantly doing that and trying to make it better. And I think for me, once getting the pencils down on paper, with letters on it, was like, that's such a huge lift creatively. Like once that's done, everything else is like gets a little bit easier, or it starts to become fun. That's the first part that's hard.
So besides the two main characters, was there a character that either of you kind of grew attached to and maybe wanted to, make more prominent in the story, if the space allows?
Yeah, we were just talking about the detective at the end. I think we have differing opinions. Well, maybe, I don't know.
Well, you go ahead now. I'll tell you if I see it differently.
No, we're looking at the last issue, and then I was like, the detective, he's kind of a jerk. Use a different word that I won't use on, but I was like, he's kind of a jerk, isn't he? But then I don't know.
Well, I a little bit self-important. I think he is, but I think likable. I mean, he's only trying to do his job and trying to do the best he can. Yeah. And I said, I said, don't forget to add this to one of the back panels, because if we, in book 2, I want him to show up in the first, right away in book 2. And so I think I have a fondness for him.
Yeah, you too. Here's my reaction to him is Sherlock Holmes is super cool, right? But I wouldn't want to be his friend. You don't want to go get a pint with Sherlock Holmes. I think he would irritate you.
But also
yeah.
But also one of the most interesting characters.
No, that's what. No, he's great, and I think that's what makes him. He's probably my favorite after us. He's my favorite.
Mine too.
So Gilt Frame, if I'm not mistaken, is 3 issues. Is that correct? Are they all 64 pages like this first issue?
No, the 64 for the first one, 72 for the second one, and then 64 again for the third one.
Okay.
Yeah, we approached this. It was interesting. We were writing it and then since we just kind of let it go. I was like, let's just write the story, and however many pages it is,
Right.
and then we'll figure out the format afterwards.
Well, I guess since it's printed through your own imprint, Flux House at Dark Horse, that gives you the latitude to kind of do whatever the heck you want.
Yeah, no, it's been great. We are spoiled. We're spoiled.
I know.
I didn't realize it until just then.
I appreciate it. I
Yeah.
appreciate my position.
No, we're in a good spot. Dark Horse has been a great partner also in sort of letting us have free reign. They don't interfere at all, they just let us do whatever. And then and I thought it was, especially with this, I guess I was tired. You don't know this part, but I was tired of working on 22-page issues, monthly issues. I feel like 22 pages isn't enough. It's a weird way to break up a story, and I was just kind of tired of doing it. And so in a lot of ways, I was wanting to protect us from having to artificially break stories in certain spots and then just do something that could work as a naturally and come out in a weird way. So issue 2 is thicker because it needed to be. And then the other ones are good bookends. But yeah, I think that helped it. And then we didn't have, because what's the other alternative? What's 60? What's the total page count? 72 plus 64. How much is that?
128 plus 72 is 200.
Yeah, 200 pages. So how do you break that into 4 issues or 6 issues?
Right, or whatever.
It's just weird. And then the beats weren't right. So to me,
Right.
it was more important to have a good experience. And then I want you to be proud of the comic.
Oh yeah.
So,
I
don't want to come out and you're like, why does it end here?
Yeah, no, I would have spoken up. I intended to have it.
So, Chad, go ahead.
Oh, favorite part of the the story that guys, for each of you, either that you enjoyed where the story was going without giving any spoilers, of course, or just favorite part of the story.
Well, I like how we developed the storyline, and then as it moved along, the characters, as they developed, their personalities took us in a little bit different direction at times. I like that piece of it, is seeing how you could take a story and turn it this way because the character was taking you that way. And I also like the parts that are based on real history. I like starting with a real crime that went unsolved by some of the best detectives of the era, and everybody zeroing in on this thief, and nobody could find out who she was. I like that piece. I like the piece,
and then we solve it.
And then we solve it. And I like the other chairs, being part of it, because they were carved by a workman at Versailles and ended up in St. Louis. It just kind of all interesting how all these things happened historically, and then how they weave into, I think, a fine story. I like that piece of it.
Yeah, that's my favorite part is the cutaway views.
Oh.
There's a few of those. I was dying to do them. Those are the easy things for me to say, but there's a couple epilogues at the very end, and I think what we did with those make the whole book elevates it in some crazy way where you think
I agree.
It's where
I'm a sucker for stuff like that. I loved it.
I'm saying the end of issue 3, when you get to that, it changes everything you think about everything that came before. And so I think doing a book like that is exciting to me. And I think you read a book recently that you were talking about where thought the book was okay, and then the epilogue's just like, what was it? Do you remember what it's called?
It's was by it's a French writer, one of the most revered French writers today, mystery writers.
Sorry to put you on the spot.
I think it's Guillaume, which is French for William Musso. One of his books, and I had read the story, and I thought, well, I've read 2, I don't need to read any more. But then I read his epilogues, and I thought, oh, I'm sold. I'd read anything he wrote, and so that was the power of the epilogue.
That's what you were telling me about that one where
it brought everything together.
Yeah, and then you were saying that I was like, I think that's what we did.
Well, yeah.
But we'll see. We'll let you be the judge.
Matt, we have a question for you here on the screen.
Yeah. Oh, is Matt a big fan of the
Oh.
movie Don't Look Now? Don't Look Now. What
Don't
is that?
Look Now.
I'll have to look it up. Who's in it? It sounds familiar.
I
I'm gonna look
I
it
don't
up.
know.
Hey, IMDb to the rescue.
Yeah, I'm doing it right now. We gonna Don't Look Now.
Oh, 1973, Julie Christie, Donald Sutherland. Married couple grieving the recent death of their young daughter are in Venice when they encounter two elderly sisters, one of whom is psychic and brings a warning from beyond.
That's great. I haven't heard of that.
I hadn't heard of that, but hey, Donald Sutherland, right?
I'll add it to my list. It's got a good cast. I like the idea. I like the location.
Yeah, no doubt. So I guess that's a no, but I think he would love it. Okay.
I will check it out.
Most definitely. So what is it about the
Go ahead.
mystery genre that appeals to you both? And this particular aspect of the mystery genre, the locked room mystery, Agatha Christie's genre, so to speak. How does that speak to you both?
You
wanna go?
You could start.
Well, I'll start by saying I don't really care for him.
Oh,
Yeah, but so know that going in that not that I don't respect it, and I do. I've read enough, but my problem is always once you figure it out or once it's revealed to you, then the book has no value to me. Like it's like, oh, until I forget the solution, you go back and read it. It's not compelling anymore on a reread. And like my favorite books are ones that you kind of want to read again, or you get more out of the second time. So I feel like me not liking that subgenre of crime is a good thing. And then I'm trying to, for me, I was hoping I wanted to make a book that I would like, or one that would satisfy that need to reread it again, even though you know who did it. The who did it part isn't what the book's about.
right.
Yeah.
Margie, same question.
Yeah.
Oh, I've read everybody, including Agatha Christie. Probably everything that she wrote that's still in print. I can't say that she's my favorite either. I enjoyed them at the time, but not my favorite. But I like Martin Edwards has done a couple of books that are compilations, and I love reading some of his suggestions and reviews, and reading authors who didn't write many stories perhaps, or wrote them a long time ago and they've been forgotten and are just a little bit offbeat, a little bit different than anything else. That I like things that are just, not so mainstream.
Yeah.
Does that answer the question?
Yeah, that's good. Yeah.
Just things are a little bit odd.
Yeah, this has that. There's a page in issue 2 that is literally.
Yeah, you'll see.
That maybe that's my favorite scene. That might be my favorite scene. I forgot. There's one page in the middle of issue 2 that's. I was drawing it, and my wife was like, "What's happening there?"
Oh yeah, I can remember.
You know
more.
which one?
I can remember more than one scene. Can you do that?
Yeah, no, there's one, and that one page. But then I was like, well, look at this. There's a lot of stuff hidden on that page too.
Mm-hmm,
It was little thing. Mm-hmm. Anyway, we had fun.
Chat.
So, it seems like you two had a really good time, doing this, collaborating on this. Any more possible collaborations between the two of you that you've maybe talked about or would like to do?
It's okay to talk about it now, Mom.
Okay, yeah. Well, as I said, 20 years ago, I wrote 3 stories, and they were maybe novella length, actually. And I think that the characters were the same in all 3. Of course, they change, but I can see maybe a couple more as we have time to do that. Matt's pretty busy, but I've already gone ahead and started.
Yeah, no. The backstory to that is I was in the middle of drawing issue 2, I think, and you started talking about the sequel, and I was like, don't. I was like, take a deep breath. Yeah. Don't be mean to your mom.
Yeah, don't go.
But then when I finished issue 3, art on issue 3, I was okay to talk about it. I actually brought it up.
Yeah.
I was like, this is what we could do.
I think it'd be good to see the characters go on together
Yeah.
in the way they interact.
Well, so I think we have a good idea for how it could work as a trilogy, where every book is slightly different. Because the other thing I don't like about mysteries is the ones where it's just a formula, like it's a series, but it's like boom, boom, boom. It's like a kind of every time, and so I think we figured out a way to do it where it's not that. It's still satisfying in that like you're following characters, but it's not the same type of mystery every time. And I think we figured out a way to do that in a cool way.
So too. Yeah. I think it's unpredictable.
Yeah, that's what we're dancing all around the spoilers.
No, that's fine.
Fair enough. How about this? Are there any other genres that you two would consider pairing up to work in?
Oh, that's interesting.
That's a good. We haven't had that question.
Yeah.
What would you want to do?
I write generally nonfiction.
Yeah. Well, we could do. What about the history of Hawaii? Would you write that? I would draw that if you'd write it.
Absolutely. Yeah. Count me in.
If you do, I hate doing research.
I love it.
It's that's why there's the true crime part of this book where I had to redraw the 1904 World's Fair, her dress and everything. It's because I didn't I just drew what I thought would look cool in a comic, and then you were like, that's not accurate at all.
And Matt said, well, can you show me a picture then?
I was like, send me a picture.
And I said, well, I do a lecture series on this. And so I had over 2,000 pictures that I could give him as examples of how women dressed at the turn of the century. So I gave you maybe half a dozen.
You know what was great though is I didn't have to do any. It was like
and I love that
it all
piece.
already.
I love nonfiction.
So I think we would do. I would do a nonfiction book.
Yeah. In a minute.
I think the answer is yes to that.
Yeah.
Okay.
And nonfiction.
And it seems from us, talking to you for the past almost an hour now, you guys have had a great relationship throughout your being mother son. But did working on this together kind of bring another layer to that?
I would say when you, I guess when we last left off really working together, you were probably in high school, and then you went on to college, got married, had a family, and so I would say that this I feel like this really brought us back together, and so I've caught up with what his like and what he does, that there are no 2 days alike, but I know pretty much what a typical day would be like for him, and I just have a tremendous respect for what he does and the amount of work that goes into everything. And I guess it's like take your mom to work day or something like that. I feel like I just know so much more about what your life is like.
No,
and your relationship with your family, with your own family too, in a new way. If my granddaughter, if Ella watercolors, it'll be 3 generations watercoloring this book, plus Charlene, life. And so I think that it's just given me a peek into your adult world that I would not have gotten any other way.
No, I think I appreciate that. It's funny because early on, where you do comics for a living, and everybody, this isn't you. Other people, friends and family think, I was like, oh, can you come over and let the dog out? I'm going to be gone. Or, I got something being delivered. Can you be there to pick it up? Because they think you don't work.
Oh.
And I was like, well, I don't go in somewhere, but I have so many deadlines. And so much work. I was like, you don't understand. You get it. Wow. And so I think I appreciate that. But I also I feel like I just always have my head down. I'm working on the next book. I'm goal oriented in getting a good book done, and I think working with you, where has sort of helped me realize I need to start enjoying it more, or enjoy the what it is, because you were enjoying what it is. You're enjoying the process, and you're enjoying the idea of everything. And I think I just don't. All I do is just keep my head down. And I don't, when I said that earlier, I was like, maybe I should enjoy it more while I'm doing it rather than like a year later, look back and be like, that was hard.
Look back and think
Yeah,
fun.
no, it is.
Yeah.
And the thing is, it is fun. While I'm doing it, it is fun.
Mhm.
But I don't think about it. I don't appreciate it
No, I know.
the same way.
But even when it's hard, it should be fun.
Yeah, hard is fun. If it's hard, I feel like you're doing it right.
Mhm.
Yeah, definitely. So, can you give us a peek behind the curtain as to what your next projects are at all?
Oh my gosh. Well, we have 2 more books
Right.
roughly sketched out, so we'll probably start on the next one. I need a break. I need a little bit of a break. I need to go on vacation in
Well.
January, and then we'll talk about it. But the next books I have ready are gosh, what is next? I have a couple books out in early 2025 that aren't announced yet, but they're written. And then I'm working on a book with.
Okay.
I share a studio with Brian Hurt. He's drawing a book that I'm like an ongoing series that we're starting, and that'll be launching next year too. So those are a bunch of stuff.
That's exciting.
But yeah, I'm trying to get a bunch of things in the can before it's announced.
Right on.
And you're working
to hear
harder. Somehow you're working harder than me.
Yeah, Margie, what are you working on?
Well, I started looking at the next mystery, book 2 and 3, seeing what's there, and looking how Sam's going to fit in, to the character. So I started looking at those. I can do a lot of preliminary work, and while I'm waiting for Matt to be able to work that in, so I'm doing, and I've to publish. I've been doing that for 20 years, mostly magazine articles and newspaper articles, but I do a lecture series too, and based on history. So I just keep writing.
Yeah, I'll keep you busy.
Just writing those kinds of things.
Mm-hmm.
Well, okay. Well, Chad, do you want to take our last question?
So as we kind of close up here, kind of just give a final pitch for the book, and when it'll be available for everybody to pick up, and where people can find you on the social media.
Yeah, the book issue 1 comes out August 7th. If you're in San Diego in a couple of weeks, there's going to be like a San Diego variant cover issue 1. This is the whole issue, but there's like limited. They just did a small run for San Diego. So if you're there, pick it up there. Come see us. That'll be our first signing together ever.
Awesome.
So please show up for that. And then I forgot the other question. Oh yeah, mattkindt.com. I'm on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram. You can follow me all those places. And then I'm the buffer between my mom and social media.
You get hold
so if you want to get to her, you got to go through me.
Fair enough. Well, Matt and Margie, thank you so very much for hanging out with us tonight. It's been a wonderful conversation. Thank you for this comic. Gilt Frame #1 from Dark Horse is on sale August 7th, as Matt stated, and issues 2 and 3 right thereafter. So check it out at your local comic book shop. We are the Comic Watchers, and this is our show. Thank you very much for listening. Chad, who do we have? Do we have our next episode guests lined up yet?
I think next week, since it's San Francisco, we decided the week before San Francisco, we decided not to bug anybody.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. So join us next week for a big roundtable conversation with whoever we can scrape up from the Comic Watch site to join us, who would dare join us. To talk about all things SDCC 2024. Thank you all for listening. Thank you, Matt Kindt and Margie Kraft Kindt, for hanging out this evening.
Thank you.
Yes, come back anytime. Either one of you, Matt, you may not be invited next time.
Like the extra wheel.
We'll get the real dish then.
That's right. That's absolutely right. Those of you listening, thank you so very much. The world might be a very scary place right now, but it doesn't have to be. Get out there, read something cool, support your local comic book shop, and above all else, just be good to each other. Thank you so very much for listening. We're the Comic Watchers, and we'll see you next time.